think I like this better than Scout.
Good God. It is better than Scout.
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today is another Martial Monday. And we will be covering the last of the currently available rogue subclasses, Thief.
Steal that. Steal that. Scream, sneak. You're like the iconic rogue, the roguiest rogue that ever rogued. I kind of love this option. It's kind of
Oh, good.
trash, but I kind of love it.
Oh,
So it's like
man.
delicious garbage.
We went through this last week with Swashbuckler. I looked through it and I thought, I could see, well, it's not perfect, but there's some things I can use here. And you said, no, there are not. And then you kind of ruined that for me. But I'm not sure you're going to be able to ruin Thief for me because I'm feeling it.
Undoubtedly, there are things that do give you new ways to play this game in this option. There are
Okay,
some
good.
secret little tech tips that I can recommend to players that want to get more juice out of their rogue too, right? Like it's not just it's got a little bit more depth to it. Now there are features here that aren't great, but there are like truly powerful abilities attached to this. And while it definitely isn't like game warping or anything, it's not gonna these abilities aren't gonna help rogue catch up to the other classes that they'll feel behind in the upper tiers. It is real features. You do get usable subclass features. They don't solve the problems of the class, but they are pretty fun to play around with. I've enjoyed building rogues with Thief quite a bit.
Yeah. I'm okay with the problems of the class.
Yeah, that's fine. We start off with fast hands. So at third level, you can use the bonus action granted by your cunning action to make a dexterity sleight of hand check. Use your thieves tools to disarm, trap, or open a lock, or take these an object action, which is really interesting for a whole lot of reasons. Because using an object does a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, Cameron actually did a build with a thief rogue using use an object, and I think he combined it with like a conjuration wizard.
Cool.
And just like any object you want, like right in your hands, use it.
Yeah. The minimum kind of stuff that you get with this, like the obvious examples are like, oh, I'll deploy ball bearings. Oh, I'll deploy caltrops. You can also use Alchemist Fire with this, which gives you a bonus action D4 fire damage that's persistent. You can use bonus action Acid, which is bonus 2d6 damage on hit. Now, you're using these to make attack rolls that you aren't proficient with, but it's still kind of like a free extra way to get this bonus damage on hit. That's pretty cool. I like this with Holy Water a lot because you can feel like Batman in a lot of ways where you just have a utility belt of stuff and you're just going against undead and you're like, Holy Water, go! And you're going against, a goblin, you go Alchemist Fire. It's really, really cool. I made a character a while ago that's entire premise was Alchemist, but better, and it was a Thief Rogue that was just Thief Rogue the whole way. But the whole objective was to find every little interesting item I could get in the game, all the little potions. I used my background to get access to Alchemist supplies with my Guild Artisan, and I was doing all kinds of like brewing my own stuff, and using the rules as written to try and make as cool of a character as I could. And you can get a lot of juice out of just going through the player's handbook, finding some oil, finding flint and steel, getting all these little extra abilities from objects that you can pick up for gold. And then you combine them all together, and you got a character that's got a lot of little abilities that are just hidden in the player's handbook that you can make a little bit better use out of everyone else. Where usually it's not worth your action to throw acid, it's pretty worth it as a bonus action. It's also notably a ranged attack roll, which means I believe, I could be wrong, I think you might have to ask your DM if they're allowed to do this, and I would recommend allowing it DMs. You might be able to convince your DM to let you sneak attack with acid because that's, it's a ranged attack roll, and that sounds kind of sweet. But your mileage is definitely going to vary.
Yeah.
Because I don't think acid qualifies as a ranged weapon, is I think where that problem lies. But come on, it's a ranged attack roll. Let you sneak attack. That's sweet.
Yeah, this I could see other kind of builds where you just take this to third level just for that and do weird and interesting things with whatever other classes you chose.
Yeah, it opens up your bonus action to be really useful. And like fast hands isn't the kind of bonus action you want to take every turn. But there are turns where you will want to take it, and the rest of the time you still have steady aim, disengage, dash, hide, or not dodge, but the other cunning action based ones that are going to be really, really awesome.
Yep.
This isn't the only feature you get here though. You also get another feature that's regularly usable in all the time. It's called second story work. When you choose to start at third level, you gain the ability to climb faster than normal. Climbing no longer costs you extra movement, which isn't exactly a climb speed, but it's very close to having an actual climb speed. In addition, whenever you make a running long jump, the distance you cover increased by a number of feet equal to your dex modifier, which is neat. It means you can jump further distances without. It basically usurps the need to have a high strength on characters that want to jump distances, which is cool. I
But
like that a lot.
if you do have both of them, then even better.
It's yeah, then you're going huge distances. You usually won't, but I could see there being like breaking and entering kind of bruiser kind of archetypes come together. It's high dex, high con, high strength, low the rest of it, and just be like, I'm a rough dude that's seen some things.
But because it's a jump, you are still limited by your maximum movement.
Yeah, but you can dash as a bonus action, so that helps, right?
Okay.
Because you can do it in such a way that you dash, get the 10 foot, then you get the long jump with the 30 foot of move, so you can get those long distances still, and then you can keep moving after the fact if you really want to.
Yeah.
So you do have more movement in your total pool that you can spend that works with your jump distance in a way that you kind of want.
I don't think I would like this feature as much if it wasn't called second story work, because that really paints the image in my head of what it's for. Climbing up to the rooftops and jumping from one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
I love that it's simple, concise, and good at delivering on that fantasy.
Yeah.
It does all of those things. There are going to be real moments in some D&D games where a person with second story work will scurry up the side of a building and everyone else will be like, oh, how do we get up there? Like, it's so much more painful for them to go at half speed to go those distances. And rogues already having the bonus action dash, I mean, you're just going all over the place. You're zipping around. If the authorities are on your tail, you really do feel like you just like parkour up the side of a building, flip over the roof, and they can't catch you. Those fat officers with their donuts are like, he's getting away kind of moment. It's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool.
As far as really simple streamlined abilities go, I think both these hit the mark. I won't say they're powerful because they're not, but they're fun, and you will definitely find ways to use these in most encounters. These aren't like the kind of fat powers that we see like Arcane Trickster gives you. This isn't full cast. This isn't third casting even, right? This isn't a bunch of bonus cantrip spell slots, new spells. This is never to match those kinds of things. But as far as vanilla features go, I do think these are some of the better ones you could ask for.
Yeah.
9th level, we open up Supreme Sneak. So starting at 9th level, you have advantage on dexterity stealth checks if you move no more than half your speed on the same turn. It's not great, but it's fine.
Not great, but it's something. It plays into the roguiest rogue.
Yeah, it's usually ghoulish overkill because the roguiest rogues probably also put expertise into their stealth.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I have advantage and expertise, so my base rolls are like mid-30s. Great. 25 is probably enough, right? Like, you don't really need advantage on your stealth checks for this to do the thing you want, I don't think.
But, why not? It's a 9th level feature I probably don't need, but I'll feel cool when I use it.
Yeah, it just like this usually reads you advantage on dexterity stealth checks because you can normally afford to go slowly whenever you're stealthing. I like that this works with second story work a lot, actually. I think that again helps the burglar playstyle pay off a little bit, where like you're sneaking up the side of a building, you're just going at normal speed because you're having your second story work speed. So like, you're going at the speed that a regular person can climb, but you're doing it stealthily with advantage. And that's kind of cool. Yep. It makes you like a really good cat burglar kind of deal. Now, at 9th level, is that a real problem you're having anymore? Doubt it.
It's not exclusively for burglary.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to sneak for a lot of reasons.
That's true. And a visibility is usually going to give you the advantage on stealth checks you're looking for. Yeah, I'm not high on this feature. I think it's actually kind of close to an on feature. But fortunately, we started with 2 bangers, so you don't feel that awful when you get this. And sometimes you'll just go, hey, I just have advantage on my stealth checks. Sure, why not? 2
rogue bangers.
2 rogue bangers. It's nice to have those, 13th level gives us use magic device. This is either the best ability you get or not an ability. And it's not, there's really nothing in between. Because this says that by 13th level, you've learned enough about the workings of magic that you could improvise the use of items even when they are not intended for you. You ignore all class, race, and level requirements to use magic items.
Does that mean you can attune to them?
Sure does.
Wow.
Yeah. Want a Rogue of the Archmagi? Go for it.
That's, yeah. If you can, well, see, all right, all this works together. If you know where the magic, where this defender sword is or whatever, then you want to be as sneaky as you can when you're going into the the guy's house who owns it.
Yep.
And yeah.
It's notable. This does not give you proficiency with those items. It simply lets you use them. So if you want to, take like an Avenger or something, if you're
Yeah.
not proficient in the kind of sword that it is, you're not going to add proficiency bonus to hit or anything like that. But you can still use it for all its fun abilities. I mean,
Yeah.
mostly what this does is now open you up to be the default gainer of the magic items in the group, right? You're just start sticking your 2-man slots in the most powerful crap you can find that the party can't otherwise use. It gives you options to get good wells of magic. Now, at my tables, this has almost no text because I don't use a lot of magic items, and if I do, normally they're aimed at specific players. So if I have a player with use magic device, that just means I'm going to go and dig for some of the coolest off-class magic items that, what do you know? No one else in the party could even use this. It's a good thing we have a rogue with use magic device, and that's kind of what this ability does in my tables. I think a lot of tables might end up being in that way. If you're doing like Adventurers League stuff, this is has a lot more value because those games tend to be packed full of interesting magic items that have prereqs. So like, I'm not going to say this is a top tier feature, but if it does ever let you use a mid legendary or an artifact that you otherwise couldn't, it's insane. So thanks.
Oh yeah, I mean, you are right in that like almost every table I've ever played at, the DM gives out magic items according to what people need. But I've never wanted that to be the case. I want to be given some powerful piece of crap that I can't use. And that's just the way it goes. And maybe someday down the line I can trade it for something I can use. Here, this will be better for you, and that'll be better for me.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think if you're playing at a table that's a little bit more old school, that is really devoted to random tables, I think you're going to more likely have a lot of value out of this because it's going to be exactly that, right? If someone is rolling to determine the Dragon's Hoard as you get there, that's going to be a lot more value. This feature's going to have a lot more value, right? Because they're going to be looking at whatever the randomized table loot, the Dungeon Master's Guide is. They're going to be rolling on it a couple of times. You're going to get some items. You're going to get some weird odds and ends items, some very rare things that no one else can use. And as a rogue, you can go, oh, no, I can use those because I got use magic device. That's where this, I think, is going to shine the most. I also
all
think
right,
this entire subclass kind of works really well at those tables anyway, because those tend to be the grindier dungeon crawling stuff, where Supreme Sneak has a lot more value. So, that plays into a very specific niche there. I like that.
I don't even remember. Does the Dungeon Master's Guide in this edition even have random tables from it?
It does.
All right, good.
Yeah, its magic item section is chock full of random tables that you can roll in to generate loot for things.
Because back when I was a younger lad, and I was playing like second edition or whatever, like I would spend so much time perusing the random tables, making little adjustments of my own, and then rolling up random treasure. That's how I rolled.
Yeah, we've long since left that space.
Yeah.
No one really gives a shit. They want the items to kind of make sense in the world more so than anything else, right? Like, I've been writing about monsters recently. I've been doing custom loot tables for them all to be like, what would these monsters want? Or what would people going to face these monsters have? And that's kind of what their loot tends to look like,
All right.
right?
You know what? That's fine too, but that's still got an element of randomness
It does.
for the characters that are coming to fight them. And like, all right, why would this beholder have a cloak of elven kind that I really, really needed?
Yeah, it's because they killed someone with a cloak of elvenkind,
Yeah,
right? That's
no, well,
the
that's one
easy
example
answer.
though, but no, but like I like what you were saying about what makes sense for them to have or for the things they've fought in the past to have. Yeah.
Last little comment I'll make about this is I think this feature is better in games that have more features like it. If Artificers had more mechanics that let them forgo like these kinds of requirements, or if there were just more items that had those kinds of requirements, I think this feature becomes a lot more interesting. Unfortunately, the game has moved. I don't want to say unfortunately, the game has moved away from this kind of variance. It's definitely aimed more now at single to two encounter kind of setups. A lot of the modern subclasses are designed to give you lots of things to do in 1 to 2 encounters so they can keep up with the full casters a little bit better. That's going to make a lot of the older design decisions kind of get shoved out of the way because they are out of favor. So I don't think we're likely to see a lot more like this in the future, which might be a shame, but it's, it's the way it be.
Yeah.
It makes this option unique at least. We top out on a real good feature. We get Thief's Reflexes, which might be the best rogue capstone. When you reach 17th level, you become adept at laying ambushes and quickly escaping danger. You can take 2 turns during the first round of any combat. You take your first turn at normal initiative and your second turn at initiative -10. You can't use this feature when you're surprised, which is a bummer. Don't be surprised. Be smarter than that.
Well, you're a
But
rogue.
Yeah. Yeah, 2 turns is nuts. It's actually insane. It's it might be hard to like to justify to think like, well, you're still a rogue, you still only get one attack, it can't be that good. You get a full attack, a full bonus action, and a full movement on 2 turns in combat. That's gonna play unbelievably well with these magic items. If you have like a magic item that gives you 6th level, 5th level spells, holy shit, is this thing busted? Because then you're firing off 2 nut spells or making 1 nut spell and a longbow attack that's getting like plus 12 to hit and a million extra d6 damage on hit. Minimum of this being 2 sneak attacks the first round of combat is genuinely great.
Do you
It
get
lets you
2
do
sneak
tons of
attacks?
reposition. Yeah, it's once per turn, not per round.
Oh, all
So
right.
yes, that's why a lot of the core play pattern, what rogues tend to really want, is someone to give them an opportunity attack or give them a bonus action attack or something. They play really well with order domain clerics for that reason. Yeah, and Thieves Reflexes, it lets you double dip. It lets you shoot sneak attack off twice in the same round, and that's gonna be a huge chunk of damage.
Yeah,
It,
if you've got sharpshooter, crossbow expert, and a magic crossbow, fun
I mean,
times.
you're still only sneak attacking twice there, but you're adding
Yeah,
plus
but
40
you're
damage.
still
So that's pretty good.
adding your sharpshooter damage 4 times
Yes.
if you hit.
Yeah, if you hit. I will say, like, this definitely plays better the more powerful your character is. And I know that might sound obvious, but a generic thief rogue, like especially one that doesn't have a bananas good spells, it's still gonna be like a, oh, you have an action surge, that's cute kind of ability, right? You really want to get a bit more out of it. You really want to have something good to use at this point with your fast
You want to
hands, so you
have
can
a
get
bunch of cool magic items.
exactly.
Yep.
And when you have that come online, oh my god, you are making encounters shift wildly in the party's favor because you just get a whole extra free turn to yourself, is what it feels like, right? And that's genuinely unbelievably powerful. This is one of the few abilities in the game that I do think equates to like a 17th level ability. This is a whole extra turn is close to a time walk, and that's what it should be. Or sorry, not time walk, a time stop, right?
Yeah.
These features need to be this powerful because this is the tier we're getting them at. So like, good on you, Thief, for getting a real, actual, exciting capstone that can be sweet for these characters to use.
Oh, this. I don't know how this is gonna. No, I do know how this is gonna sound to you, but I think I like this better than Scout.
Good God. It is better than Scout. I do
Yes,
think this
yes,
is a lot better than Scout. Scout is very much generic upgrades. This is actual cool new abilities that
yes.
change how your rogue plays the game. And I think that's really meaningful. This to me feels like it was plucked out of Edition of Old. This feels like what I think rogue used to look like a lot, right? Where you were the scrappy kind of seat of your pants kind of scoundrel that you figured it out on the road how to pick up a little bit of magic, how to pick up a little bit of, you know, skullduggery. You were good at sneaking around and getting up buildings, and you could, you know, if you went slow, you could be super, super stealthy. It has all those things that I find reminiscent of older editions. The heavy use of magic items, the caring about prerequisites. It does a lot of those kind of mechanics really well. And for that reason, I think it'll play better at tables that are favoring that style of gameplay. If you're playing at a table and you haven't received magic items and you're level like 7 or 8, oh boy, is this not going to do anything at this 13th level, and oh boy, is Thief Reflex is going to equate to extra attack. And that's not going to be that good. It's still going to be fine, but like you really do want to have use magic device matter in your character sheet for this to be something worth in the upper tiers. Its floor being a really solid low tier option, though, that gives you decent rogue abilities, is going to be fun to play with at the majority of tables, I think. I think its option's entirely passable, the majority of tables.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid B. This makes me feel good. You're right. You hit the nail on the head. It reminds me of editions of old. It's the rogues of my childhood.
Mhm. I think I'm gonna give it a C because I think use match device and Supreme Sneak. The Supreme Sneak in particular is not a real feature. Like it's just not good enough to give you anything new for your sheet.
Yeah.
And use match device is way too fickle. Like that ability just is basically a signal to the DM that if they don't know what's on your sheet, they're not going to change anything and you're not going to get the feature. And if they do know what's on your sheet, it's just, oh, give them cooler magic items, I guess, is kind of what this feature reads. And a feature that's entirely in the wheelhouse of the DM is going to be hard to justify its power of. But that being said, fast hands, second story working thieves, reflexes are a good enough time, I think, that players could, if you want to do like a classic rogue thing and you're okay without having magic, you're okay without having resources, because this doesn't give you any of those. This gives you no resources. If you want to play a resourceless class, I think this is an entirely passable option that will be one of the better rogue options, unfortunately.
And no, I'm fine with it. Yes. All right, this may be my next rogue. We'll see.
Give it a go. It's fun.
All
I
right,
think
well,
I will
yes.
give it this. You will get bored if you do not like. If you want lots of new things to do, this sure doesn't give you that. So you have to work to get new things to do in this option. So keep that in mind.
I'll be totally fine.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. That was Thief Rogue. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Leave us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.